when I was 22 years old, I was living in London with some friends, and that was kind of when my raving journey began. We'd go to raves, and we would, say if we went out on a Saturday, we'd recuperate on a Sunday, and my way of resting would be working on music, because I worked during the week. My hobbies, music still is. And my friends would say like, oh, we're going to watch a movie, we're going to watch Harry Potter, or something much cooler than Harry Potter, obviously. And I would say like, oh no, I'm just, I want to do this tune. I want to finish this tune. I want to start this tune. Or if there's a track that I was excited about, and those people are still my friends. And they remind me of that now. They'll say like, oh, it was a core memory of theirs where like, they would say, are you coming to watch this movie, or are you coming to play Call of Duty? And I would say, no, I've got to finish this thing off. And then before you know it, it's Monday, because I was back at work, because I would work during the week. So I wanted to use Sunday as my tune writing time. So for me, rest meant making tunes, and I didn't set aside lots of time for resting and recuperating. My idea of rest was very different then. Obviously now, during the week, I'm making tracks every single day. I'm in the studio every single day, so my rest has to be outside of that. But also, there's something to be said around me not knowing when to stop when I was like 22 compared to me now at the age of 34. Like, I didn't appreciate what good can come from a good rest. I didn't realize that by not resting, you can be impeding your productivity levels and your overall contentment levels, and I didn't really realize that. But I think when you're younger, not that I'm not hungry now, but like, it was just my priority was just getting as much music made and as much music that I was proud of as possible. And there was also an element of like, make as much music that people will like as possible, which is it's not ideal really. It's not about that attitude of like, I want to make this because people will like it, or I want to make something that people will like. That's kind of not really, in the long term, it's not really going to get you very far. So, but that's what I used to do. That's kind of like what I used to think sometimes. But with rest, obviously, long story short, I ended up having this as my job. Music is my job, luckily enough. And so now, the only thing that I consider rest is, and it doesn't have to be like a weekend in the Caribbean or something. Even if it's just 20 minutes without my phone, reading a book, drawing a picture, or painting. I like to paint. That's my idea of rest. Great, if you could do meditation, great. But even like, I have an ice bath, even just 2 minutes in the ice bath where I'm just literally just closing my eyes and focusing on my breathing, just that 2 minutes where I'm not thinking about anything else, that I classify that as rest. It's really important. Or even, I would class even just listen to music not on my phone, like whether it be on my laptop or something, in a dark room, also rest. But anything that where I'm not looking at my phone. And because if I don't do this, it's very, very easy to feel overwhelmed. And there's a direct correlation with when I feel overwhelmed and my phone usage. So the feeling of overwhelmedness, I think that's a word, will be higher like in the evenings, and I'll notice it, whether it's like I've found myself glued to my phone ever so slightly more than a normal day. And that can be because of varying factors. But in this job, I've found I can feel like sometimes I'm a bit inadequate when it comes to social media, or like if a social media account is just repeatedly underperforming, you look inwards, you know, I look inwards, what can I change? And why is it underperforming? And obviously, repeat that and it will take its toll. And you can find yourself, rather than resting and recuperating, you're just trying to claw back something. But for me, it's counterproductive. And especially when you're, you know, I'm a touring DJ now. So say, for example, if I have a gig on the Friday in the UK, I got to catch a flight on the Saturday, which I love, by the way. And then early flight back on the Sunday. It doesn't leave much time for sleeping. Sleeping is very important. And I notice when I'm like, I can't sleep on planes. And when I'm sleep deprived, the next day I'm just so ratty. Like I can't, like, everything gets on my nerves. And I genuinely don't feel like myself. I feel like for that period of time, I am pretty much someone else. So I try to just, sometimes I can nap during the day when I get back, but like you kind of just, the amount of rest you get when you are working on the weekends, it doesn't even have to be in a broad gig, but even the UK gig, sometimes sometimes it could be like that. Sometimes it gets like that. This weekend's Easter weekend. I have Kent, which I'm looking forward to on the Thursday, and then Cambridge on Saturday. I live in Cambridge, so it's not very far from me, but on the Sunday, I will need to rest, and I will have to make sure I slot in some time to do some painting. Otherwise, I will just end up in the studio. If I end up in the studio, I will be working, because that's what I love to do. And it's all well and good, but I do need to make sure I'm rested, because come Monday morning, I'm also working. Also, if you struggle with overthinking, resting will really help that. There's so many things a good rest will do. I feel like when I'm not rested is when I overthink the most. And if you think about it, when you overthink, if you could just stop the overthinking, your actual general health would be the same as it was like an hour before you started overthinking. And I try and just remind myself of that, because I am quite prone to that. And I have noticed basically a direct correlation of that when I'm not rested. So that's another reason to rest. So all in all, I would suggest, if you're a new artist, to rest. However, I know how it is when you want to make it happen, and you've got lots of energy, you've got lots of fire in the belly, and you want to make it happen. You want to make it happen as quickly as possible. So you think, well, I'll just eliminate the rest, and I'll use that time just to work some more, which can help. But also, if you ingrain some of these good habits early on, it will help you later on, because the other side of the coin to that is, if you treat yourself like a bit of a workhorse when you're coming up, or when you're very much just starting out, if you treat yourself really, really like a workhorse and don't give yourself too much rest, when things do start happening for you, or when things do start working out, you don't really know how to take a back seat. Not that it's about taking a back seat. I don't feel like I want to take a back seat now, and I won't take a back seat. But that's the problem. You're always going to be pushing more and more and more. So if you can set in these, you can call them boundaries, I guess. Set in these restful boundaries, I think it will help in the long run. But once again, this is just me exploring things within how I'm seeing it. And this is something that I want to implement. I want to implement more rest times. I don't rest a great deal, but I'm getting there. So if you like this video, please check out this last one here, and also let me know in the comments how you feel about how you treat rest, and whether it's ample or whether you could do some more. But yeah, big up.